Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2021 Ram 2500, we're going to be showing you how to install the RetraxONE Retractable Tonneau cover. But before we do that, why don't we check it out and make sure that this is something that's going to work for you. So when it comes to picking out a tonneau cover for your truck, it's really just going to depend on what you're trying to accomplish. Are you looking for aesthetics? Are you trying to make your truck look a little bit better? Are you looking for complete functionality, just keeping everything dry and secure, or a little bit of both, and I feel like these Retraxes kind of cover both of those bases. They're very functional. I'm a big fan of these. They're super easy to use. Since they just roll in and out, very, very straightforward. And I think they look really good too. About as good as you can get, honestly. They sit nice and flush or very low profile, and so it gives your truck a really nice modern appearance to it. And with that said too, these things just hold up. You're gonna get a lot of life out of them. Unlike, I'm sure a lot of people have seen those roll up vinyl type ones. Nothing wrong with those. They keep everything dry, but over time the sun starts tearing them up and they kind of start falling apart. And that's not the case at all with the style like this that roll up whenever you open it. So this cover is going to be good to help keep stuff inside your truck bed safe as well. And that's because since it's not super thin vinyl, it's going to take a lot of effort to actually bust through this. Can it be done? Probably, but is someone willing to spend the time to do that? That's because it can lock. So it comes with some keys, you lock it, and you're not able to open it up. And you can use that in conjunction with your tailgate lock. So in our case, we have a tailgate lock on here right from the factory. Not sure if every one of these trucks has it, but I would assume so. But once you lock this down, you can't open your tailgate, can't open the cover, and everything inside is going to be out of sight and out of the weather. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are concerned with. For example, my brother-in-law not too long ago got one of these covers for his Ford. It's a Ford truck. Does a lot of construction. He's a carpenter, and so he always has tools back here and in bad neighborhoods a lot of times. And so he wanted a way to keep everything dry and safe. Tired of stashing it in his back seat piled up to the ceiling. So he put one of these on, and it's a definite game changer, and I can see why. It just makes life a little bit better when your truck's clean on the inside and you got some confidence knowing everything's safe back here. There's something that I do want to address, and we get a lot of questions about it, and that's if this cover is going to be able to work with fifth wheels. And thankfully today we have one in our truck actually, so we can really show it off and give you guys an idea here. But from the looks of it, especially in our case, you should have more than enough room for the majority of your fifth wheel head. So today we have the Kurt A20 in here. It's the OEM puck system, and there's quite a bit of space still on top of it. And it looks like it's, about in the middle position, middle to higher position. So chances are pretty good, unless you have a super high fifth wheel head or something like that, that you're going to be in pretty good shape as far as getting the clearance you need for the tonneau cover. So I'll go ahead and open it up now just so we can see how it works. We have our little mechanism here, and everything slides nice and easy. Doesn't take much effort. And again too, it starts to break in a little bit more when you use it, so this is brand new, but it slides in pretty easily, and that's going to give you the space you need too, even when you're hooked up. If you hook up to your fifth wheel, it's not really in the way at all. You're not going to have to really sweat anything as far as that goes. Something that's pretty cool too, let's say if you don't have your fifth wheel head in here, or you don't have one at all, but you got some loads that might stick up. You maybe put a lawnmower or something in here and the handle comes way up. You can actually close this cover pretty much any spot you want. So let's say if you want to go halfway, you lock that down and it's not going to move. It's going to stay steady. So you can cover up partial loads if you need to, which I definitely think is a nice touch. You also get a lot of questions in regards to, you know, is a tonneau cover going to work with accessories, particularly ladder racks. And some ladder racks utilizes stake pockets, and this tonneau cover here covers up those stake pockets, so you're not going to be able to get access to them. You know, majority of people, if you're not going to use a stake pocket, who cares, right? You're never going to use it, but to others it's really important. And if that's important to you, they actually make essentially the same kit as this, just with different rails here. They're set up a little differently, and they have openings that allow you to get access to those stake pockets. So if that's something you're looking for, that would be a kit worth looking into. On the same note, they also make something that's pretty neat. Essentially the same deal here, but there's some T-track rails built into it. And what that's going to allow you to do is use other types of accessories as well, you know, some more lightweight type ladder racks and things of that nature. So if you're going to be carrying around some small stuff on, you know, trying to put small stuff on a lighter weight accessory, maybe like a kayak or, you know, just a couple of ladders or things of that nature, that's always an option for you too. So regardless on what you're trying to do, you know, you got all your bases covered, and there's going to be a tonneau cover that is appropriate for your situation. This particular cover here, the sides and the front and back pieces are going to be made from aluminum. The cover itself, though, is a polycarbonate, they call it. To me, I mean, it's essentially just like a really thick, hard plastic almost. Seems like it'll hold up pretty well. You know, I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on it, and you know, a little bit of flex there, but not too bad. Feels like there's some beams that kind of run across every now and again to help keep it supported. And matter of fact, I mean, if you wanted to put something on top of the cover, it's rated for 200 pounds if it's evenly distributed. So that's always an option for you too. And you know, just compared to some of the other types of covers, for example, they have one that's pretty much the same as this, but this plastic part is actually made out of aluminum as well. I've seen them both, and honestly, if it were me, you know, I would probably spend a few extra bucks and get the aluminum one. Not to say that this isn't durable or anything by any means, but you know, aluminum compared to polycarbonate, I mean, it's not hard to figure out. You know, aluminum's going to hold up a little bit better. But you know, at the end of the day, it really just depends too. If you park your truck in the garage, quite frequently, probably not a huge deal. Or if you're really, really rough on it, you know, aluminum might be a better choice for you. And that kind of brings me to my next point, powered tonneau covers. So we get a lot of questions about those. Ones that have a motor in them and you hit a button and it opens up. You know, to me, they're cool, but to me, they just seem really unnecessary. This one's so easy to open and close. I mean, it's really not taking a ton of time out of your day. And from my experience, those powered ones, they always kind of just give you issues. They want to hang up or not work right. And, you know, it's just kind of overdoing it for something that's supposed to be simple and just covering up your bed. To me, it's just kind of overdoing it. But, you know, then again, to each your own. If that's something you like, then there's a couple good options out there for you as well. With this being a canister, you know, where the tonneau cover is going to roll into, it is going to take up a little bit of bed space. Not a ton, but in case you're interested, we'll just measure from the end of it here to this edge. So pretty much how much it's going to take up here at the front of the bed. That's going to be right at 13.5 inches. And then down here, it kind of angles down a little bit to save as much space as you can. But from the bottom of this down to the bed, that's going to be about 9 inches. So you're still going to be able to get in here and tie stuff down to your hooks there and everything else. So, you know, although it takes up a little bit of space, not the end of the world. You're still going to be able to utilize your bed. And just one more measurement too, for those of you that are wondering. I talked about how it sits pretty flush and is nice and low profile. So from the top of the rail there down to your tailgate, that's going to be about 1 inch. So hardly takes up any space at all. But other than that, you know, a really nice tonneau cover. I would definitely be happy with it if I put it on my own truck. No doubt about that. And as far as the installation goes, I've done several different types of covers, and got quite a bit of experience with them. This one was the easiest by far that I've done yet. Essentially, you bolt the rails to the canister, kind of set it in there, and it went together really good. Really didn't have to make any adjustments. Everything fit nice and tight. So hopefully I didn't just get lucky, and hopefully that is the case for you as well. But if you need to follow along, feel free to. We'll go ahead, pull into the garage, and put this on together now. To begin our installation, the first thing that we're going to do is get our whole canister here, and we need to remove some of the shipping materials. So on each end of it, you're going to do this to both sides. You're going to have a tube. We'll just get this tube pulled out. Then if you look right here, there's this little bracket, and that's held in with a Phillips head screw. So go ahead and pull this. So lift up, take the bracket out, and we're going to hold on to this because we might need it later as a shim. Now we need to open up this cover here where your locking mechanism is, and you want to push down on the button and open it up, and then we can get ready to put our rails on, the side rails. So I went ahead and just laid them out, and these are going to be side specific, so pay attention to that. How these are going to work is we can see we have this channel here, and that's where the rollers are going to go into for our tonneau cover. There's also going to be a screw hole there, that little one, and this little one, and those are going to line up with a couple of holes here in our canister box. So this is going to be kind of tricky here. What you want to do is pull this out a few inches, take your rail and get those rollers started into it. You want to try to work this back and get our rails started. So with the rails on, you can see where the attachment points that we talked about line up here on the side of our canister. You're going to take the included Phillips head screws and get these tightened down. So once both side rails are secured, we can grab this front cover and slide that in. That's going to go under the rails, all right? And this weather strip here is going to face towards the outside, so on this end. If you look, there's a hole in the rail, or in this cover here, and we're going to slide that in, and that's eventually going to line up with this hole here. So we're going from underneath, kind of get each side going. And then once we have it lined up, we're going to take these bolts, Allen head bolts, and get them installed. And do the same thing on the other side. So now with an extra set of hands, we're going to grab our whole assembly here and do our best to drop it into our truck bed. Just kind of a quick pointer, whenever you're dropping this in, this seal here that was on our front cover that I mentioned earlier, you want this to lay like this on top of the bulkhead on your bed here. So you want it to lay flat, like so. Now what you need to do, get up in the bed of your truck and close the tailgate and see where the top rail, see the distance between the top rail where it ends and this end of our bed there. And I mentioned that shipping piece that we saved. We're going to use this as a measuring device or a shim. This top portion here, we want this to be 1/8 of an inch, have a gap there, and that's what this measures. So in our case, Fits right in, little tight, that's okay though. And we know it's where it needs to set. I'll go ahead and check the other side, and if that one checks good, we can get to bolting this down. If it doesn't check good, you can always just slide your assembly more towards the front or more towards the back until you find the appropriate spot. So once we're measured good, we can take our clamps and get these installed. We're gonna have 2 on each side rail, and you're gonna put these in between these adjustment screws. So we have this set up here at the back, and then there'll be, you know, the exact same deal going on up towards the front. So you're gonna take your clamp, put that in, and we'll go ahead and tighten it down. But whenever you're doing this, what you want to do is put downward pressure on the rail, and while you're putting downward pressure, kind of tilt this up just a hair. So once you have all those clamps tightened down, you need to take a few measurements. Your first measurement, you want to come up to the front of the cover, and kind of where our screws are that we use to secure the front cover, measure the distance in between the 2 rails. Remember that distance. Then you want to measure just behind our canister here where our front clamps are. Measure that distance, and then finally measure this area where our back clamps are. And you want that measurement to be the same, or within 1/16 of an inch. Usually everything will be really close, and you might have to make a minor adjustment. In our case, ours is pretty much spot on. If you did have to make the adjustment, what you would do is go to the side you're trying to adjust. So let's just say if this rail had to go towards the outside of the truck more, so we had to increase the overall distance. What you do is loosen up your clamp, take the provided Allen key, and you would just simply back these out a couple turns. Tighten it back down and remeasure everything. Let's say if this end was too far, if the distance was too great between these 2 rails, you'd simply just turn these in a few threads and do the same thing. So depending on where you're at, you know, if you need to make an adjustment, use the one that makes the most sense, adjust it, get it tightened back down, and rechecked. So now what you want to do is close your cover completely, close up your tailgate, and just take a look at it. You know, make sure the cover operates smoothly and isn't getting hung up or anything like that. Make sure all your seals are straight and evenly exposed. And chances are pretty good. These things are pretty well made. You're probably going to be in good shape. If not, if it's crooked or anything like that, come back and simply just make your adjustments like we talked about a moment ago to kind of push things one way or another and get everything nice and flush. Now what you can do is install the drain tube. So I went ahead and done that. Pretty straightforward. One end of the tube is just going to plug, kind of just pushes right into the bottom of our canister. Then we got to route these outside. So there's actually some factory rubber plugs there, and I simply used a drill to drill a hole just big enough to get our tube fed through there, and just simply pushed it down. When you do this, make sure it's not kinked up or anything like that so the water can flow freely. And when you're drilling, be careful. You know, you don't have a ton of space in between this and the cab of your truck, maybe a few inches. So, you know, don't just grab the longest drill bit you got and start going crazy. Keep that in mind. You know, I use a step bit like this. It's nice and short. A hole saw would probably work too. But just something to think about so you don't damage the other side of your truck when your drill bit actually punches through the plug there. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the RetraxONE Retractable Tonneau cover on our 2021 Ram 2500.